Senate Bill 1070, or the Clean Energy Jobs Bill, has just been redrafted for the 2018 legislative session. Here to discuss is Representative Ken Helm and Senator Michael Dembrow. Welcome to the program, legislators.
Hello. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to talk with you.
Last week, you held a joint meeting of the House Committee on Energy and Environment and the Senate Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, wherein you discussed the redrafting of Senate Bill 1070. Senator Dembrow, what were the main concerns with the first draft of the bill?
I think the main concerns were there were just still a lot of unanswered questions. You know, in 1070, we created a framework to put a cap on pollution and require businesses to purchase allowances in order to continue to operate while they were gradually reducing their emissions, and then investing those dollars in projects that would help further mitigation, that would help us to adapt to climate change and sequester carbon, and most notably help people who have been the victims of climate change and will continue to be on the front lines of climate change impact to become stronger, more resilient, and prosper. And I'm talking about low-income Oregonians, communities of color, rural Oregonians who have been really hurting, and we see this program as really benefiting them. The redraft really made it clear how we could do that and do it in a way that was responsible with good governance, and that would also really put a focus on rural Oregon in a way that we had not done before. And I think Rep. Helm can probably elaborate on that.
Representative Helm, what were the key takeaways for you from the meeting?
Well, one of the key takeaways was that the bill has really become a streamlined version of what our goals were in 1070. In particular, the governance has been simplified in a way that really makes sense and integrates with our existing governmental structures. So the key point there is a joint committee on climate, which would be a bipartisan, bicameral committee that would oversee both the construction of the program and, over time, how we implement it and how we spend any revenues.
Senator Dembrow, the bill aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 20% below the 1990 levels by 2025. How are we going to achieve this goal?
Well, you know, we already have some programs in place that are helping us get there. You know, we have a renewable portfolio standard that requires more and more use of renewables for electricity. We have a low carbon fuel standard. We have a number of things that we're doing, and so you know that will get us the first part of the way. But you know, our goal is to get 2050 is to get to 80% below where we were in 1990, and you know that's where science says we need to be at least. And what we heard a year ago was that not only do we have to get to that point, but you know we're not on track. We're not even on track right now to get to where our previous goals were. You know, we're not alone in that. I mean, I think you know we're probably better positioned in a lot of ways than a lot of states. But you know, it's clear that even a state like Oregon, that's blessed with hydropower and where, you know, a lot of people really are conscious of the need to combat climate change, it takes real discipline to get there. And that's what this program is all about, putting us on a path where year after year after year, our emissions need to reduce. So this will create that kind of structure.
Representative Helm, how will a cap and invest model help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and bolster our economy?
Well, the key part is the cap, and what we have, one of the basic principles of a cap and trade type system, which was that's the way that we tackled acid rain a few decades ago, is that it's incremental, and it's not like walking off a cliff where one day we get to our goals. It's a stepwise approach, which places the cap. The cap lowers emissions gradually over time, and that way industry and technology both have a chance to attack the cap in a way that makes sense without bankrupting businesses or jolting the economy. So it seems like a big job when you start, but the way we see the program rolling out is slowly, thoughtfully, and over time in a way that we can reach the 2050 goal in a stepwise way.
Senator Dembrow, in sort of the face of climate change, how does the bill promote adaptation and resilience in our communities?
Well, one of the big ways is, I think we're all still thinking about the forest fires that hurt, much of Oregon over the summer. And, with climate change, that is just going to get worse and worse. Our summers are going to be drier. The fire season is going to be longer. We need to find ways to make our forests healthier through sustainable forest practices that will create more jobs in our rural areas and make our forests healthier. The older trees, those that are 80, 100, 120 years old, are much more resilient to fire. And they also sequester a lot of carbon. They store carbon. They take it out of the atmosphere. They help us move forward on this problem. And so, we want to create a sustainable forest, or encourage a sustainable forest practice that allows more of those trees to remain while we keep people working in the forest. But the goal is to have trees of different ages, et cetera. So that's really that's sort of the rural part of this. On the urban side, we have a lot of people who are spending more money than they should be on their heating fuels because their homes are not insulated. They don't have high energy efficiency, and that's certainly the case for the many people in the urban areas who are renting. And so part of this bill is going to create new programs with the utilities to provide better energy efficiency. So, the cost of fossil fuels will go up here, but the cost to the individual renter or homeowner will go down because their homes will become more efficient and they'll be using less energy.
Representative Helm, where will we see the most impacts on employment?
Well, we are very much trying to create a program that doesn't have an adverse impact on employment. We want the industry that is here in Oregon now to stay and to slowly find a way to comply with the new cap. But it's in the title of the bill. It's a clean energy jobs bill. This is intended to encourage a transition from our current economy to one in which we use clean and renewable energy. And that's where some of our efforts will go, certainly, as we move forward.
And Senator Dembrow, what concerns you most about moving forward in the fight against climate change?
The challenge with climate change is that although we are starting to see the effects in terms of extreme weather events and things like that, forest fires, et cetera, it's kind of it's sort of a silent killer, right? We know that if we don't take action today, we're going to pay as a society, as a community, as a planet down the road. But people face such enormous pressures in their lives anyway that it's hard to think forward. People just want to get through the day. And so the challenge here is to help people understand, two things. One, that the action they take today is going to make the world better for their children, their grandchildren down the road. Actually, three things. The second is that the investments that we make today are going to be less expensive, more cost effective, the earlier we start tackling this. And then, the third thing is this really can be a way to transform Oregon's economy in a positive way. Fossil fuels are a loser for Oregon. We have to import our fossil fuel from other states, from other countries, whereas Oregon can generate energy here through wind, through solar, through geothermal, through wave. And I just had a meeting a couple of days ago with some people who are planning a project in the extreme rural part of Oregon. It's a big solar panel array, solar energy array. And once that is rolled out in the early 2020s, they're going to be putting $4 million a year into their county budget through county property taxes. That's like $400 million to Multnomah County. So people have to see that, but we're not used to thinking in that way. And so it's kind of a mind shift that we're after.
Now, if our listeners still have their ballots, any comments from either of you about Measure 101?
Well, if we're going to move forward on climate change, we need a yes vote on Measure 101. That may seem strange, since 101 is all about keeping people insured. But it's if 101 goes down, we're going to have to spend the whole session just focusing on where do we find that $1 billion to make up for it. And I don't think there's going to be enough air in the room for anything else.
Representative Helm, where can folks find out more information?
The senator and I have on our websites, on our legislative websites, have placed all the information that we've obtained through our informational sessions and our work group sessions this past fall. When you go to our websites, there's a link to Clean Energy Jobs, and there folks can find all the reports, all the studies, all the comments, and if they really want to, they can even watch the video of our work group sessions. It's really becoming a very nice library of information on how to do carbon pricing, not just for Oregon, but I think the rest of the country would find it a good resource as well.
Excellent. Senator Dembrow, any final comments for our listeners?
Yeah, I would just say, one other element of what we're trying to do here is to connect up with other states and Canadian provinces. This program will put us on a team with California, Ontario, Quebec, some other Canadian provinces, and the Northeast. Washington, D.C., the Trump administration, everyone knows, is not going to address this problem. We have to as states, we have to as regions, we have to as people, as Oregonians.
Representative Ken Helm and Senator Michael Dembrow, thank you so much for speaking with us today.